Happy birthday, Sir Lewis Hamilton. Today is the 7th of January 2025, which means that Hamilton turns 40 years of age today. The 7-time Formula 1 world champion is the most statistically successful driver in the history of the sport, with the joint most championships, most wins ever, and most podiums as well, as the most pole positions on top of that. But I wanted to look ahead rather than looking back at Hamilton's career, because we spoke a lot about Hamilton. I've given my opinions quite a bit on him and what has been a very, very tough 2024 season for him on the whole. And a lot of people off the back of that are kind of saying that, well, he's going to Ferrari for one last payday, really. This is his last hurrah in Formula 1. And I do think this will probably be the final career move that he makes. Going to Ferrari will be the last time that he makes a debut for another team, basically. I don't see him really hanging around too much after that. Like I said, 40 years of age now. So you think this is probably going to be his last go at it. As long as he's fast enough, I'm sure he'll stay in Formula 1. But even that, in truth, is in question by some circles anyway of Formula 1. I don't necessarily subscribe to that really, but I do want to talk about Hamilton, and I want to talk about his time at Ferrari coming up, because Ferrari haven't won a championship of any description since 2008 when they won the Constructors' Championship for the last time, and they haven't won a Drivers' Championship since Kimi Raikkonen back in 2007, a championship that Hamilton was also fighting for in that season, his debut season in F1. But yeah, this is the big thing about Hamilton, because a lot of people are saying that, you know, his time has passed really when it comes to winning another championship. You know, he's never going to win that fabled 8th world championship in Formula 1 and break the record outright, break Michael Schumacher's record. Something that when he won his 7th title, Hamilton seemed like he was going to do. And indeed, of course, he came very close to doing that in 2021. So I just wanted to ask the question, is he going to win an 8th world championship? Is he going to bring Ferrari's glory days back? Because in true Ferrari, let's just take Hamilton out of the equation for a second here. Ferrari have definitely been on the recovery drive recently, getting 2nd overall in the Constructors' World Championship in 2024. You know, their highest placing for quite a few years as a result. They're very much on an upwards trajectory. And as the season went on in 2024, they continued to get faster throughout this. Now, again, on top of that, really, you have to take it with a pinch of salt in the sense that you've also got McLaren that were very much on an upwards trend as well. So you've got McLaren and Ferrari very much improving, and on top of that as well, you can't discount the likes of Max Verstappen in that Red Bull, particularly in the Drivers' Championship. I think winning the Constructors for Red Bull this season coming up in 25 will be extremely difficult, to be honest. With the greatest of respect to Liam Lawson, it's going to take him a little bit to get used to the car. And frankly, at this moment, I don't really rate him as highly as the likes of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So I don't really see, Red Bull being a threat for that Constructors, unless they make the fastest car by some distance and Max Verstappen pretty much wins it on his own again. But in terms of the Drivers' Championship, can Hamilton win an 8th Drivers' Championship in his career? Well, it's certainly possible in my opinion. Now, a lot of people will probably point to the fact that George Russell beat Hamilton overall in 2024, and that is true, he did. But I feel like there's a few different factors going against him on this one, really. And the first one, really, and I've said this quite a few times, is that Mercedes were developing the car for George Russell throughout 24. And that isn't me being conspiratorial. That isn't me being like, oh, they sabotaged Hamilton. They didn't want him to win anything. Because believe me, there's people out there that genuinely believe that, which is ridiculous because Hamilton won 2 races. So no idea what you're talking about there on that one. I just think it's a fact. I just think it's a fact that they probably developed the car for George Russell throughout 24. And because Hamilton announced that he was going to go to Ferrari so early on for 25, he announced it before the season even started. I think it was before even pre-season started that he announced he was going to go to Ferrari for 25. So, you know, it makes sense for Mercedes from a purely developmental point of view that you're going to back, and obviously you're going to develop the car around the guy that's going to be staying at the team rather than the guy that's going to leave at the end of the season. So that meant for me that the gap in terms of performance between Russell and Hamilton on the whole actually increased as the season went on. But despite that, Hamilton did have some standout drives. His performance in Las Vegas was incredible. His performance at Abu Dhabi was incredible. He was absolutely mesmeric at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone as well. He of course had some really big low points too, Brazil and Qatar being 2 of the worst ones towards the end of the year. But again, there's the car aspect to it, and also I think there's a self-belief aspect to it as well. On top of that, you know, there's a confidence aspect to it, and he's spoken very candidly and openly about this actually as well, which is really refreshing. I don't think he said it outright, but he has more than hinted to the fact that he has a bit of imposter syndrome. You know, he is not, in his own mind anyway, he's not as fast as what he used to be, or at least he believes that. And maybe there's some truth to that. We don't know. It's really hard to tell because he is comparing himself to his teammate. But as I said before, I believe that that car suited Russell more, particularly as the year went on. He might not see it like that. He might not want to make excuses like that. I doubt he does. So there is definitely a school of thought that says that Hamilton is not as fast as he used to be, that he's not quite got it anymore. And if that was to happen, if he was beaten all ends up by Charles Leclerc through this season, I think he'd probably leave. I honestly think he'd leave. And I don't mean that in a sense that he'd throw his toys out of the pram. I think he'd genuinely just be like, you know what, I gave it a shot, I'm clearly not fast enough. I think that's pretty unlikely that scenario will happen. I don't see Hamilton getting beaten that badly by Leclerc. I expect Leclerc and Hamilton to be quite close, to be honest. And on top of that as well, there's a 2026 regulation. So not only are Ferrari coming into 2025 as one of the fastest teams, you might argue the fastest team at times, particularly towards the end of the season in 2024, they also have a complete reset in 26 as well, which might work to Ferrari's favour, it might work against them, but it without a doubt means there's an opportunity there. And, you know, Hamilton was at Mercedes when they had an incredibly successful transition in terms of regulations, going from the old V8 cars in 2013 to the new V6 hybrid engines that we still have today in 2014. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, Hamilton, you know, he's the only reason why Mercedes were good in 2014. No, of course not. But, you know, his input in 2013 definitely would have helped. You know, he was coming into that team as someone with experience of having one of the fastest cars on the grid at McLaren at times, particularly very early on in his career. So he would have brought that knowledge and it really would have helped. A similar thing could happen for 2026. I mean, Hamilton was at Mercedes when they transitioned with regulations, not only from 2013 to 2014, but also from 2016 to 17 as well. There was a big regulation change there. And I actually think his relatively negative experience of going through another regulation change after 2021, going to 22, will also help him because that shows him what doesn't work. Mercedes have not transitioned to this new current formula we have in Formula 1 when it comes to the cars. Yeah, they've not produced anything like the dominant force that they once were. They got fourth in the Constructors' Championship in 2024. That would be unthinkable before the regulations changed, but it's not a surprise. It really is not a surprise. So it's going to be tough, I think, for someone to win championships in 3 different engine formulae. He would have won it in a V8 in 2008. He would have won it with a V6 on 6 occasions. And on top of that as well, if he wins an 8th championship with this new 50-50, you know, ICE and electric powered car as well. You know, someone said to me, my good friend Sam, if you're listening, Sam, when you're watching, Sam, hey man, hope you're doing good. He said to me a while ago that he thought that if Hamilton wins another championship with a 3rd different engine supplier, that he would engine formula I should say, he would undoubtedly be the best because his longevity in the sport is something ridiculous. And you know, you are talking about a gap. If he wins it in 25, for example, you are talking about a gap of 17 years between your first championship and your last. That is something that has to be unrivaled. There can't be anybody who's won with a bigger gap than that. There's a lot of stats with Hamilton with his longevity, and I know that I'm not going to get into the GOAT debate because this video will be a lot longer than what it is, and it's already pretty long, but, you know, there's very strong evidence at that point to suggest that Hamilton is the GOAT at that point when he's done something like that. And I'm not going to get into the debate about that. All I'm saying is that he is without a doubt in the conversation, and it's something I'm going to do a longer debate about at some point here on the F1 Chronicle. I'd love to do it, but the kind of crux of my thinking, the real, you know, the summary of it when it comes to that is that you can say that a driver is the greatest I spoke about this with my Schumacher video recently as well because it was his birthday the other day too. You can say that someone is, in my opinion, you can pretty definitively say that someone is the best of their generation, but saying they're the best of all time is a completely different debate, and it's impossible to say definitively. You can't say definitively that Hamilton is better than Fangio or vice versa because they never raced against each other. You can't say that Clark is better than Schumacher because they never raced against each other. I mean, you can say who is the GOAT in terms of their era because they would have dominated an era, but even then it's murky. Would you say that Prost is better than Senna or Senna's better than Prost? Most people would say Senna's better than Prost, but not everybody. Trust me, not everybody. That's a very interesting debate, that one. But for me, there's definitely a chance. And I'm more than willing to die on this hill about this. I'm not saying that Hamilton will definitely do it, that Hamilton's the best still. I'm saying that the jury is out very much still when it comes to him at the moment. And he will know that. And I want to see him succeed and I want to see him do well. But is it going to be too much to see him win a championship again? It's honestly, it's so hard to say for me. I'd say it's possible, and we'll know pretty quickly in 25 whether that's going to happen or not. But 26 opens it all up as well. For the other teams too, they've got an opportunity as well. But Ferrari, you would have to say it would be one of the favourites still even then. But what's your thoughts, guys? Is Hamilton washed, as some people in my comments section love to say? Is he too old? Can he not compete in Formula 1 anymore? These are genuine opinions I hear from people quite a bit. And I'm more than willing to defend Hamilton and debate people on this, you know. And again, I'm sure there'll be some... I mean, listen, I've got a lot of fans who are also Max Verstappen fans as well. There's a lot of you guys on this channel, and, you know, I really enjoy speaking with you guys about stuff because, you know, I don't really hear from Verstappen fans much outside of my F1 channel here. I don't see many of them going around in everyday life basically here in the UK. There's not that many of them really, as you'd expect. Just like you could expect there not to be that many Hamilton fans in the Netherlands, you know, it's just the way it is. But, you know, Verstappen himself did say not long ago that you don't win as much as what Hamilton has won and lose it. You always have it. He might not believes that he has it anymore. He said openly that he doesn't really believe that he's got it anymore, which I don't agree with him. I don't agree with the man himself, Hamilton, about himself on that one. But, you know, Verstappen said basically, you know, that Hamilton still got it. And I don't think that's him being patronising, him kind of buttering Hamilton up. I don't think it's that. I think he's being genuine. There's a real respect between those two. They were absolutely, you know, at loggerheads really when they were battling for the championship in 21. You know, knives were out very much at that point. But, you know, since they've not been battling for a championship, well, Hamilton's not been battling for, you know, Verstappen's, you know, it's been an absolute walkover for him, really. It's been easy for him relatively. No one's been able to get close to him. You know, I feel that there's that respect there between the two of them. And it's great to see. Not dissimilar to how Hamilton and Alonso have that respect for each other, even though they don't fight for championships anymore. But, I mean, again, we don't know yet. But I bet if they were battling for championships, they might be a bit different with each other. But there's that mutual respect there. They both recognise that they are both greats of Formula 1. And that's really good to see. So we'll see. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Hamilton's form has not been great recently, but I believe his class is permanent. And I absolutely believe that he is in with a shot of winning the 8th world title with Ferrari, which would elevate him even higher in the GOAT debate, in my opinion. But that is just my opinion. What's yours? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well. And we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.